The distress signal came at 3 in the morning, ship time. Yun-Tae was eating cold rice from a container when his console started beeping. He stared at it for a long moment, chopsticks frozen halfway to his mouth. The signal came from deep in neutral space. No patrol ships. No stations. Nothing but empty darkness for millions of kilometers in every direction. Common sense told him to ignore it. Pirates used fake distress signals all the time. A small cargo ship like his would be easy prey. He had no weapons, no combat training. He was just a mechanic who traveled between stations, fixing things that other people broke. But the signal kept beeping. Someone out there was dying. Tae put down his rice and changed course. He found the ship 3 hours later. It was a royal transport, the kind that carried important people between star systems. Except now it was broken. Holes covered its hull. Fire had burned through entire sections. Whatever had attacked this ship had wanted everyone on it dead. Tae docked a small vessel against the only airlock that still worked. He put on his suit and stepped inside, expecting to find bodies. He found one survivor. She sat in the command center, surrounded by the corpses of her guards. Silver skin, 4 eyes, tall and thin, dressed in robes that cost more than his entire ship. Blood covered her arm where something had cut her, but she held a weapon steady, pointing it directly at his chest. Tae raised his hand slowly. "I received your distress signal," he said. "Are you hurt?" The woman did not lower her weapon. Her 4 eyes studied him with cold calculation. "You are human." "Yes." "Humans are weak, insignificant. Your species has barely learned to travel between stars." Tae shrugged. "That is true. But your ship is broken, and I fix broken things. Do you want my help or not?" For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, slowly, she lowered the weapon. "I am Velia," she said, "Queen of the Sarati Empire." Tae had heard of the Sarati. Everyone had. They controlled 12 star systems. Their fleets could destroy entire planets. Their queen was considered one of the most powerful beings in the known galaxy, and she was bleeding on the floor of a broken ship. "I am Tae," he said. "I fix engines. Can I look at your arm?" She stared at him like he had spoken nonsense. "You know who I am. You know what I am worth. Yet you ask about my arm? Your arm is bleeding. Your empire is not. Which problem should I solve first?" Something flickered in her 4 eyes. Confusion, maybe. Or something else. She let him clean and wrap her wound. She let him check the bodies of her guards, confirming what she already knew. All dead. She let him walk through her broken ship, assessing the damage. "Your council did this," Tae said. It was not a question. The attack pattern was too precise. Someone had known exactly where her guards would be stationed. Someone had known her route. Velia's face remained cold. "My council believes I have grown too powerful. They fear what I might become." She paused. "They are not wrong to fear." Tae nodded and started working on her engines. For 3 days, he lived on that broken ship. He welded hull breaches with spare metal from his own cargo. He rewired her navigation system using parts from her destroyed fighters. He rebuilt her communication array piece by piece, his hands blackened with grease and burns. Velia watched him. She did not help. Queens did not help with manual labor, but she watched. On the first night, Tae offered her food from his supplies. She looked at the container of instant noodles, like it might be poison. This is what humans eat? This is what poor humans eat. Rich humans eat better things. I am not rich. She ate the noodles. She did not complain. On the second night, she asked him why he had answered her distress signal. He could have ignored it. He could have robbed her. He could have sold her location to her enemies for more money than he would earn in 10 lifetimes. Why did you help me? She asked. Tay thought about it. Because you needed help. That is not a reason. Everyone needs something. No one gives without expecting something in return. Then I am no one, Tay said, and went back to work. On the third night, her fleet arrived. A dozen warships dropped out of light speed, surrounding the broken transport. Armed soldiers poured through the airlock, weapons raised. Searching for threats, they found their queen sitting in the cargo hold of a small human vessel. Eating instant noodles with a mechanic. The soldiers did not know what to do. They stood frozen, weapons pointed at Tay, waiting for orders. Velia rose slowly. She put down her noodles. She looked at Tay for a long moment. This human saved my life, she said. He will leave here unharmed. Any soldier who touches him will die by my hand. The soldiers lowered their weapons. Tay stood as well. Your ship should work now. The navigation is basic, but it will get you home. The hull patches will hold for maybe 2 weeks. Get proper repairs when you can. Velia nodded. She reached into her robe and pulled out a data chip. This contains enough credits to buy a new ship. A better ship. Take it. Tay looked at the chip. Then he looked at her. I do not want your money. Her 4 eyes widened. Then what do you want? Nothing. I helped because you needed help. That is all. He turned and walked back to his ship. His small, broken, worthless ship that smelled like engine grease and instant noodles. Velia stood in the airlock and watched him go. She had ruled for 10,000 years. She had crushed rebellions. She had burned worlds. She had made emperors kneel and armies surrender. And she had never met anyone like him. Before his ship detached, she placed a tiny tracking beacon on its hull. Her soldiers saw her do it. None of them dared to ask why. Velia returned to her empire. She executed the council members who had betrayed her. She rebuilt her power and reminded the galaxy why they feared her name. But at night, alone in her palace, she found herself thinking about a mechanic who had looked at her bleeding on the floor and simply asked if she was hurt. She pulled up the tracking beacon on her private console. His ship moved slowly through neutral space, heading toward the next station, the next job, the next broken thing that needed fixing. She watched that little dot move across the stars and felt something she had not felt in centuries. She did not know what to call it, but she knew she wanted to feel it again. 2 months passed. Tay fixed engines on a mining station. He repaired water systems on a colony ship. He replaced broken heating units on a research outpost where scientists studied dying stars. Normal work. Simple work. The kind of work that paid just enough to keep his ship flying. He tried not to think about the Queen. That strange week felt like a dream now. He had returned to his ordinary life. And ordinary life did not include silver-skinned rulers of galactic empires. Then he received a job offer he could not refuse. A space station called Harmony Point needed urgent repairs to its communication arrays. The pay was excellent. The work was straightforward. Tay accepted the job without reading the details. He should have read the details. Harmony Point was hosting peace negotiations between the Corvani Dominion and the Erethian Collective, 2 of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They had been at war on and off for 6,000 years. Now they were attempting peace. The station was filled with diplomats, soldiers, and tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Tay kept his head down and focused on his work. The communication arrays were old and poorly maintained. He spent 3 days crawling through access tunnels, replacing circuits and cleaning connections. He ate alone in his ship. He spoke to no one. On the 4th day, everything went wrong. He was walking through a service corridor when he heard shouting. Loud shouting. The kind of shouting that came before violence. He should have walked away. He should have returned to his ship and waited for whatever was about to happen to finish happening. That was the smart choice. The safe choice. Tay walked toward the shouting instead. He found the main negotiation chamber in chaos. Kovani soldiers stood on one side, weapons drawn. Erethian guards floated on the other side, their bioluminescent bodies pulsing with aggressive red light. In the center, two figures faced each other with murder in their eyes. Queen Nira of the Corvani Dominion. Insectoid features. Iridescent wings folded against her back. Cold, calculating intelligence behind her compound eyes. Queen Salve of the Erethian Collective. Aquatic form contained in a hovering water sphere. Ancient beyond measure. Her glowing patterns spelled out emotions in a language few could read. Between them, a translation device sparked and smoked. You dare insult my ancestors? Nira's voice cut like broken glass. You dare suggest the Corvani are parasites? I said nothing of the kind, Salve responded, her voice like water over stones. I offered respect for your evolutionary journey. Lies. The translation was clear. Tay looked at the broken translation device. Then he looked at the two queens about to start a war that would kill billions. He had picked up languages during his travels. Small phrases. Basic understanding. Enough to realize what had happened. He stepped forward. Stop, he said. Every weapon in the room turned toward him. A small human. A nobody. Speaking without permission in a chamber of queens. Nira's compound eyes focused on him. Who is this creature? Kill it. A Kovani soldier moved forward, blade raised. The translation was wrong, Tay said quickly. The device broke. It switched the Erethian word for admiration with the word for disgust. Queen Salvu was complimenting your people. The machine made it an insult. The soldier stopped. Nira raised one hand, signaling him to wait. Explain, she commanded. Tay pointed at the smoking device. Erethian emotional language is complex. The difference between praise and insult is a small change in light frequency. Your translator is old. It has not been updated in decades. When it overheated, it defaulted to incorrect patterns. He looked at Salve. You said your people admire how the Kovani adapted to their harsh world. The machine translated it as your people despise how the Kovani infested their harsh world. Silence filled the chamber. Salve's bioluminescent patterns shifted to pale blue. Confusion. Verification. Then, soft green. Understanding. The human speaks truth, she said. I meant no offense. I offered genuine respect for Kovani resilience. Nira studied Tay with her compound eyes. Each facet examined him from a different angle, processing, analyzing, calculating. You stepped into a negotiation between two queens, she said slowly. You interrupted matters that do not concern your species. You risked death to correct the translation error. Tay nodded. Yes, why? He thought about lying. He thought about claiming some grand motivation. But he was tired, and the truth was simpler. Because I did not want to watch two civilizations go to war over a broken machine. I fix broken things. This was broken. I fixed it. A Kovani guard stepped forward again. He spoke without permission. The punishment is death. Tay did not flinch. He did not beg. He simply stood there, waiting. I would rather die than watch billions die because of a software bug, he said. If that is the price, I will pay it. The chamber went silent again. Nira raised her hand. The guard stepped back. Fascinating, she whispered. Absolutely fascinating. She looked at Salve. Something passed between them. An understanding that had nothing to do with translation software. The negotiations will continue, Nira announced. This human will repair the translation device. Properly this time. Tay spent the next 6 hours fixing the device. He worked while two queens watched. He explained his repairs to Nira, who asked precise technical questions. He described the emotional light patterns to Solveig, who seemed surprised that a human could perceive them at all. When he finished, the negotiations resumed. 3 days later, the Kovani, Dominion, and Erethian Collective signed their first peace treaty in 6,000 years. Tay was already gone by then. He had collected his payment and left quietly, wanting no attention, no recognition, no reward beyond what he had earned. But attention found him anyway. Nira began her own investigation into the human mechanic. She learned everything about him: his birth records, his work history, his family, his perfectly ordinary, perfectly unremarkable life. And yet he had looked at death and not flinched. He had spoken truth to power without hesitation. Her species calculated everything, predicted everything, controlled everything. They could not calculate him. He operated on variables they had never considered. Solveig conducted her own research. Her people had abandoned emotions thousands of years ago. They had decided that feelings were weaknesses, evolutionary baggage that slowed progress. They had bred themselves into cold, logical perfection. But watching the human speak, watching him offer his life for strangers, she had felt something. A flicker in her ancient mind. A memory of what her people used to be. She wanted to feel it again. Across the galaxy, Velia tracked her little beacon and smiled. Others had noticed her human, her mechanic, her strange, ordinary miracle. She did not like sharing. But she had to admit, she understood why they were interested. He was impossible to understand. And for beings who had understood everything for thousands of years, that was the most attractive quality in the universe. The raiders came out of nowhere. Tay was traveling through a quiet sector, running low on fuel, looking for the nearest station. His sensors detected nothing. His warnings stayed silent. Then, suddenly, his ship shook as grappling hooks latched onto the hull. Dravani raiders, the most feared pirates in the outer systems. They dragged his ship into their carrier. They pulled him from his cockpit and threw him onto cold metal floors. They laughed at his size, his weakness, his soft human body. "What is this?" their captain asked, poking Tay with a clawed foot. "A pet? A snack?" "A trespasser," another raider answered. "He entered Dravani space without permission." The captain grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then he belongs to the queen now." They put chains on his wrists and threw him in a cage. For 3 days, he traveled in darkness, given only enough water to survive. He did not know where they were taking him. He did not know what would happen when they arrived. He found out soon enough. The Dravani homeworld was a place of fire and stone. Massive arenas dotted the landscape, filled with crowds hungry for blood. The Dravani respected only one thing: strength. Their entire civilization was built on combat, conquest, and the belief that the weak existed to serve the strong. Tay was brought before Queen Thesa. She sat on a throne made of bones. Real bones, from real enemies. Her scales shifted colors as she moved, red to black to deep purple. Scars covered her body like medals. She had ruled for 300 years, and she had won every battle she had ever fought. She looked at Tay like he was an insect. "Human," she said, her voice like grinding stone. "You entered my territory without permission. The punishment is death." Tay stood in his chains, tired and hungry, surrounded by warriors who could tear him apart with their bare hands. He knew he should feel afraid. Somehow, he just felt annoyed. "I got lost," he said. "My navigation was wrong. I did not mean to trespass." Laughter filled the throne room. A human making excuses. A human speaking to their queen. The Dravani found it hilarious. Thesa did not laugh. She studied him with cold, amber eyes. "You do not beg," she observed. "You do not cry. Most prisoners soil themselves when they stand before me. You just look tired. I am tired. Your raiders did not let me sleep. More laughter. But Thesa raised one hand, and silence fell instantly. I will give you a choice, human. Execution, quick and clean. Or the arena of thorns. Survive one round, and you go free. Tay knew about the arena. Everyone knew. Prisoners fought against monsters, against warriors, against impossible odds. No human had ever entered the arena. No human had ever survived. But execution meant death for certain. The arena meant a chance. The arena, he said. Thesa smiled. It was not a kind smile. The arena of thorns was a massive pit surrounded by thousands of screaming Dravani. Sharp stones covered the floor. No weapons were provided. No armor. Just flesh against whatever creature they chose to send. They sent a Gorath. 8 feet tall. 4 arms. Each arm ending in claws that could cut through metal. The creature had killed over 200 prisoners. It had never lost. Tay looked at it and felt his heart sink. He could not win this fight. He knew that immediately. He was small. He was weak. He had no training, no skills, no abilities that could help him. But he had made a promise. Before he left Earth, his younger sister had made him swear he would come home. She had held his hands and looked into his eyes and made him promise. He had never broken a promise to her. He was not going to start now. The Gorath charged. Tay ran. The crowd booed. Running was cowardice. Running was weakness. But Tay did not care about honor. He cared about surviving. For the first hour, he simply stayed alive. He dodged. He rolled. He used the sharp stones as obstacles, forcing the creature to navigate around them. Every time it caught him, he twisted away, leaving skin and blood behind but keeping his life. The crowd grew quiet. By the second hour, Tay was bleeding from a dozen wounds. His legs burned. His lungs screamed. The Gorath was tireless, but Tay noticed it was getting frustrated. It was used to quick kills. It was not used to prey that refused to die. He kept running. By the 4th hour, the crowd was completely silent. They had never seen anything like this. Prisoners either died quickly or surrendered. This human did neither. He bled and stumbled and fell, and every time he fell, he got back up. The Gorath finally caught him in the 5th hour. It pinned him to the ground, claws pressing into his chest. Blood poured from his wounds. His vision blurred. Why? The creature hissed. It could speak. Tay had not expected that. Why do you not give up? You cannot win. You are nothing. Tay coughed blood. His body screamed at him to stop, to surrender, to accept death. I promised my sister, he whispered. I promised I would come home. He drove a sharp stone into the creature's eye. The Gorath screamed and stumbled back. Tay pulled himself up. His legs did not work properly anymore. He could barely see. But he was still standing. The 6th hour passed. Tay collapsed at the end, face first in the bloody dirt. The Gorath stood over him, wounded and confused and exhausted itself. But Tay was still breathing. Still alive. The round was over. The silence in the arena was absolute. Then, slowly, something incredible happened. The Dravani began to pound their feet. A slow rhythm at first. Then faster, louder. The sound of respect. The sound of honor given to a worthy opponent. They were cheering for him. Queen Thesa descended from her viewing platform. She walked across the bloody arena floor, her scales shifting to pure white. A color she had not shown in decades. A color that meant she was impressed. She knelt beside the broken human. His eyes were closed. His breath was weak. But his heart still beat. Why? She asked softly. Why did you not surrender? Tay opened his eyes. One was swollen shut. The other focused on her face. "I promised," he repeated. "I promised my sister I would come home." Breaking a promise seemed worse than dying. Thisa had conquered worlds. She had killed thousands. She had made entire species bow before her dot. She had never felt anything. But looking at this small, broken, impossibly stubborn human, she felt something. A tightness in her chest. A warmth she did not recognize. "Take him to my medical wing," she commanded. "The finest doctors. The best medicines. He will live, or everyone responsible will die." Her soldiers moved instantly. Within 3 days, word spread across the galaxy. A human had survived the arena of thorns. A human had earned the respect of the Dravani. 3 ships arrived at the Dravani homeworld. A Sarati royal cruiser, a Kovani diplomatic vessel, an Erethian transport. 3 queens came to see the human who had refused to die. They found him unconscious in a healing tank, surrounded by Dravani doctors who treated him like precious cargo. Thesis stood guard, watching his vital signs. For the first time in centuries, the 4 most powerful women in the galaxy stood in the same room. They looked at each other, then at the floating human, then back at each other. "He is mine," Velia said coldly. "I found him first. He saved millions of my people," Nira countered. "He has my protection. He taught me something I thought I had forgotten," Solve added. "I will not abandon him," Thisa growled. "He earned Dravani respect. He belongs here." They stared at each other, old rivals, ancient enemies, brought together by a mechanic who fixed broken things. In the healing tank, Tay slept peacefully, unaware that his life had just become very, very complicated. Tay woke up in a room made of gold. At least, it looked like gold. The walls glowed with soft light. The bed beneath him was softer than anything he had ever touched. Medical machines hummed quietly around him, displaying readings he could not understand. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his entire body. "Do not move," a voice said. "Your wounds are still healing." He turned his head and saw Queen Velia sitting beside his bed. 4 eyes watched him with an expression he could not read. "You," he said. "How did you find me?" "I never lost you," she replied simply. The door opened, and 3 more figures entered. Nira, her wings folded tight. Salve, floating in her water sphere. Thisa, her scales shifting through confused colors. 4 queens. In one room, looking at him. "This is very strange," Tay said. Nara made a sound that might have been a laugh. "We agree." For 2 weeks, Tay healed. The Dravani doctors were the best in the galaxy for treating physical wounds. They repaired his broken bones. They sealed his cuts. They rebuilt the parts of him that the arena had destroyed. But during those 2 weeks, the 4 queens stayed. They argued with each other constantly. They sent messages to their empires, reassuring their councils that they were not kidnapped, merely busy. They took turns sitting beside his bed, watching him sleep, watching him heal. Their empires did not understand. The galaxy did not understand. A minor species. A single human. Why did 4 of the most powerful rulers in existence care? The queens themselves were not sure. When Tay was finally able to walk, he escaped to the observation deck of Thesis' palace ship. He needed air. He needed space. He needed to understand what was happening to his life. He found a wall of windows showing endless stars. He pressed his forehead against the cool glass and closed his eyes. "They said you would come here," a voice said behind him. "Velia. They know me better than I know myself," he replied without turning around. More footsteps. Nira and Salve entered from another door. Thisa emerged from the shadows where she had been waiting. 4 queens surrounded him. He had nowhere to run. "We need to talk," Nira said. Tay turned to face them. His body still ached. His mind was tired. He did not understand anything that had happened to him, and he was too exhausted to pretend otherwise. Why? He asked simply. Why are you here? Why do you care? I am nobody. I fix engines. I eat instant noodles. I have a small ship that barely works and a life that does not matter to anyone except my sister. You rule empires. You command fleets. You could have anything in the universe. Why are you interested in me? Silence filled the observation deck. The stars watched through the windows, ancient and patient. Velia spoke first. I have ruled for 10,000 years, she said. I have experienced everything power can offer. Luxury, fear, worship, conquest. But in 10,000 years, you are the first person who looked at me and saw someone who might be lonely. She stepped closer. You offered me noodles. You treated me like a person, not a queen. You did not want my money. You did not want my favor. You helped because I needed help. In 10,000 years, Tay, no one has ever done that. Nero went next. My species calculates everything. We predict behavior. We model outcomes. We control variables. I have never met a variable I could not calculate. Her compound eyes studied him. I cannot calculate you. You should have ignored Velia's distress signal. You should have stayed silent during the negotiations. You should have surrendered in the arena. Every logical model said you would. But you did not. You operate on values my people forgot existed. I want to understand why. Solveig floated closer, her bioluminescent patterns glowing soft blue. My species abandoned emotions long ago. We decided they were weaknesses. We evolved past them. We became cold, logical, perfect. Our patterns shifted to something Tay could not read. When you offered your life to prevent a war, I felt something. For the first time in 3,000 years, I felt something. I thought that part of me was dead. You proved it was only sleeping. Finally, Thesis spoke. Her voice was quieter than Tay had ever heard it. I have conquered worlds. I have killed enemies beyond counting. I have won every battle, every war, every challenge. And I have felt nothing. Victory meant nothing. Power meant nothing. I thought I was complete, but I was empty. She met his eyes. When you spoke of your promise to your sister, something happened inside me. A warmth I had never known. You fought for 6 hours, bleeding and broken, because you promised someone you loved. I have not loved anything in 300 years. Watching you made me remember what I was missing. Tay listened to all of it. 4 queens. 4 empires. 4 confessions. He did not know what to say. I am not special, he finally managed. I am not brave or smart or strong. I just do what seems right. I keep my promises. I help people who need help. That is not special. That is just being a person. Velia smiled sadly. That is the most special thing in the universe. You do not understand, Mira added. Most beings, when they gain power, lose what you have. They become calculating, strategic. They forget how to be kind without expecting something in return. You have nothing, and yet you have everything we lost. Outside the windows, ships moved in the darkness. The 4 queens' fleets gathered around This's palace ship. The largest collection of military power in galactic history, all focused on one observation deck. Your empires need you, Tay said. Your people need you. You cannot stay here, watching me heal forever. No, Solveig agreed. We cannot. Then go back. Rule your empires. Forget about me. I will return to my ship and continue my life. We can pretend this never happened. 4 queens looked at each other. Something passed between them. A decision. No, Thesis said firmly. We have discussed this, Nira added. All of us. For days. You showed us something we had forgotten, Velia said. We will not simply forget and return to our empty thrones. Tay felt fear for the first time since the arena. What are you saying? Sci-Fi drifted closer. We are saying that you have given us a choice we did not know we had. We are considering it carefully. What choice? The queens did not answer, but their expression said everything. They were considering something impossible, something that would change everything. And Tay, standing in his borrowed clothes, still aching from wounds earned in an arena, realized his ordinary life was never coming back. I need time, he said desperately. I need to think. Take all the time you need, Velia replied. We have waited thousands of years. We can wait a little longer. They left him alone on the observation deck. He stood there for hours, watching the stars, trying to understand how a mechanic from Earth had become the center of a galactic crisis. He had no answers, only questions, and somewhere deep inside, a small voice that wondered what it would be like to not be alone anymore. The galaxy was panicking. Every news channel showed the same images. 4 queens, 4 fleets, 1 human. Rumors spread like fire. The human had psychic powers. The human had ancient technology. The human had somehow enslaved the minds of 4 rulers. The Galactic Council demanded answers. They threatened investigations. They threatened sanctions. Some whispered about war against humanity itself, a preemptive strike against whatever power this species had developed. On Earth, governments scrambled to understand. They had no information. They had no explanation. A mechanic named Yun Tay had left 2 years ago on a cargo ship, and somehow he had captured the attention of beings who ruled half the known universe. His sister watched the news in her small apartment. She did not understand either, but she knew her brother. She knew he would never hurt anyone. She knew he would keep his promise. She waited. In Thys's palace ship, Tay watched the chaos unfold on screens throughout the vessel. His face appeared on every channel. His name was spoken in 1,000 languages. Species he had never heard of debated whether he should be killed or worshipped. This needs to stop, he said to the 4 queens gathered around him. This is insane. You need to return to your empires and end this before someone gets hurt. Someone will get hurt regardless, Nero replied calmly. The galaxy has seen us together. They have seen us focus on you. The damage is done. Then fix it. Tell them I am nobody. Tell them you made a mistake. Velia shook her head. We cannot lie about you, Tay. You are not nobody. Not to us. Then what is your plan? What are you going to do? The queens looked at each other. That same silent communication he had seen before. We've made a decision, Sci-Fi said. We wanted to discuss it with you first. Tay felt his stomach drop. What decision? Thesis stepped forward. For months, we have asked ourselves why you matter. Why you, of all beings in the universe, have affected us so deeply. We found our answer. What answer? You showed us that power means nothing without purpose. We have spent thousands of years building empires, accumulating strength, conquering and controlling. But we had forgotten why. We had forgotten what we were building toward. Velia continued. You fix broken things. That is what you do. You see something damaged, and you repair it. You do not ask for reward. You do not calculate benefit. You simply help because helping is right. We are broken things, Nira added. All 4 of us. We have ruled so long that we forgot how to feel, how to connect, how to be alive instead of merely existing. You reminded us what we lost. Sci-Fi floated closer. We have a choice. We can return to our thrones, rule for another 1,000 years, and die empty. Or we can choose something else. Tay's heart was pounding. What are you saying? We are saying goodbye to our empires, Thesis said firmly. All of us, together. Tay could not speak. The announcement went out across every channel in the galaxy. 4 simultaneous broadcasts. 4 queens, each standing before their people for the last time. Velia addressed the Serati Empire first. I have ruled you for 10,000 years. I have given you protection, prosperity, and power. But I have also given you a cold ruler, a distant ruler, a queen who forgot why she wore the crown. I have chosen an heir who will serve you better than I ever did. From this moment, I am no longer your queen. I am simply Velia, and I am going to learn what it means to be alive. Nira spoke to the Kovani Dominion. Our species values logic above all else. We calculate, we predict, we control. I have been the ultimate expression of Corvani evolution. But I have discovered that some things cannot be calculated. Love, kindness, the warmth of genuine connection. These are variables we abandoned. I am going to find them again. My successor will continue our legacy of knowledge. I am going to pursue a different kind of wisdom. Salve addressed the Erethian collective. Long ago, our ancestors made a choice. They decided emotions were weaknesses and removed them from our species. I believed this was correct. I was wrong. A human showed me that feeling is not weakness, but strength. The courage to be vulnerable, to be hurt, to love despite the risk. My people may never understand, but I choose to feel again, whatever the cost. Thesis spoke last to the Dravani Federation. I have conquered more worlds than any ruler in our history. I have won every battle. I have made our name feared across the galaxy. But I was empty inside. A warrior without purpose. A queen without joy. A human showed me what true strength looks like. It is not defeating enemies. It is keeping promises. It is fighting for love. I lay down my sword and my crown. My heir will lead you to glory. I am going to find peace. The galaxy went silent. 4 empires, shocked beyond words. 4 successors stepping into power they never expected. 4 queens walking away from everything. Tay watched the broadcasts in disbelief. They had actually done it. They had given up everything. For him. Because of him. He did not feel worthy. He did not feel special. He felt terrified. An hour later, the 4 former queens arrived at his docking bay. Each carried a small bag. No guards, no servants, no symbols of power. Velia led the way. Her silver skin seemed lighter somehow. Her 4 eyes held something new. Is there room on your ship? She asked. Tay looked at his small, battered cargo vessel. The ship he had kept alive through improvised repairs and stubborn determination. It could barely hold 1 person comfortably. The shower has bad water pressure, he said weakly. The food machine only makes 7 dishes. There are only 2 sleeping rooms. Thesis shrugged. I have eaten battlefield rations for 300 years. I will survive. Mira examined the ship with calculating eyes. The food machine is inefficient. I will optimize it. Salve's patterns glowed soft green. I have never experienced unreliable water pressure. I look forward to trying it. Velia simply walked past him and sat in the co-pilot's seat. She looked back at him with a small smile. Are you coming? Tay stood in the docking bay. 4 women who had ruled half the galaxy watched him, waiting. His small ship hummed behind them, ready to go. He thought about his sister. He had promised to come home. But maybe home was not a place. Maybe home was wherever you found people who made you feel alive. He climbed aboard. The ship was cramped with 5 people. Thesa had to duck through doorways. Nira immediately began analyzing the food machine. Salvage explored the water recycling system with genuine curiosity. Velia sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat, watching the stars. Tay started the engine. The old ship shuddered and groaned, but it held together. It always held together. Where are we going? Thesa asked from behind him. Tay thought about it. The whole galaxy was watching. Every species knew his face. Nowhere would be truly safe. Nowhere would be truly quiet. Earth first, he said. I need to see my sister. I promised I would come home. 4 former queens nodded. They understood promises now. The ship lifted off. It passed through Theseus' fleet without being stopped. It entered open space, a tiny vessel against the infinite darkness. Behind them, the galaxy continued to spin. Empires adjusted to new rulers. Species debated what had happened. Historians began writing accounts that would be studied for centuries. A mechanic had changed everything. Not through power or violence or cunning. Through kindness. Through stubbornness. Through the simple act of treating people like people, even when those people ruled the stars. Valia looked at him as they flew. Are you happy? She asked. Tay considered the question. He was cramped. He was confused. He had 4 former queens living on his tiny ship. His life would never be normal again, but for the first time in years, he did not feel alone. I think I might be, he said. Valia smiled. The others gathered around the small cockpit, watching the stars pass. 5 people. 1 ship. Endless possibilities. Somewhere on Earth, Tay's sister looked up at the night sky. She did not know her brother was coming. She did not know what he was bringing with him, but she knew he would keep his promise. He always did. And across the galaxy, humans looked at the stars with new eyes. They were not the strongest species, not the smartest, not the most advanced, but one of their own had reminded 4 ancient queens what it meant to feel alive. Maybe that was the greatest power of all.